A fully loaded bus carried a group of NYSC members who had just completed their year-long service in a remote village. Excited to return home, they laughed and reminisced about their experiences. But unknown to them, a terrible fate awaited, one triggered by a single mistake. In a small, quiet village, the core members had lived and worked at the local high school. They were lively, always laughing and making friends with the villagers. But as their time in the village stretched on, so did their curiosity. One afternoon, as they strolled through the dusty paths, they found themselves near the king's palace. The towering gates, the intricate carvings on the walls, and the regal aura of the place filled them with awe. But one thing captured their attention most: a golden crown displayed within the palace, gleaming like the midday sun. Henry, the most ambitious and greedy among them, was mesmerized. "That's real gold," he whispered, his eyes glistening with hunger. "Do you know how much this could sell for in the city?" Kimmy, a more cautious core member, shook her head. "Don't even think about it. I've heard stories. The king's crown is protected by spirits. No one who steals it ever survives." Henry scoffed. "Spirits? Just old wives' tales to scare people. This crown is our ticket to wealth." Some of the core members felt the temptation tug at them, but others were afraid. "We shouldn't touch it," Kimmy pleaded. "The village respects their traditions. Let's not bring trouble upon ourselves." But Henry had already made up his mind. "If you're too scared, fine. But I'm taking it. And when I'm rich, don't come crying to me." The days passed, and the end of their service drew near. On their last night in the village, while everyone else was preparing to leave, Henry made his move. Under the cover of darkness, when the stars were asleep and the village lay silent, he sneaked into the palace with two others who couldn't resist the thought of quick riches. The crown sat there, untouched, gleaming like a forbidden treasure. "It's even more beautiful up close," one of them whispered, his voice trembling. "Enough gawking," Henry hissed. He snatched the crown and stuffed it into a black nylon bag. "Let's get out of here." When they returned, Kimmy immediately noticed Henry clutching the suspicious bag. "You didn't," she gasped. "We did." Henry grinned, his voice full of pride. "And I'm not returning it." "You're making a mistake," Kimmy warned, her eyes wide with fear. "You don't understand this village. You don't know what you've done." Henry simply shrugged. The only mistake was not taking it sooner. Morning arrived, and the core members boarded a chartered bus, ready to leave the village behind. The villagers waved goodbye, their faces warm and smiling, unaware of the silent doom that lurked among them. As the bus rumbled down the dusty road, the crown remained hidden in Henry's bag, its golden glow now an unseen force of reckoning. Henry sat at the back, a smug grin on his face, already dreaming of the wealth he would soon possess. The bus jolted suddenly and groaned to a stop. The driver muttered curses as he stepped out to check the engine. Hours passed under the scorching sun as he tinkered and struggled to get the bus moving again. Finally, the engine roared back to life, and the core members cheered in relief. But just as they continued their journey, a loud pop shattered their joy. The tire had burst. Frustrated, the driver replaced it as quickly as possible, whispering prayers under his breath. Still, no one noticed Henry's bag or the hidden crown lying inside, its silent presence casting a heavy shadow over them all. The brakes failed. Panic filled the air as the bus hurtled uncontrollably down the road. The driver's desperate shouts were drowned by the core members' terrified screams. The bus swerved wildly before plunging into a deep ditch. The crash was deafening. When the dust settled, 3 core members lay lifeless, their dreams and laughter extinguished. Others groaned in pain, their bodies battered and broken. But one was missing. The curse unfolds. Henry had survived. Clutching his bag tightly, he fled the scene, his heart pounding with fear and guilt. He boarded another bus heading to his city, believing he had escaped. But the curse was far from over. On the way, the new bus also suffered mechanical failures. First, the brakes. Then, the engine refused to start. Passengers murmured in unease, but Henry remained silent, gripping his bag with trembling hands. When he finally reached home, relief washed over him. But misfortune had already crept in like a thief in the night. That evening, his youngest brother, Toba, slipped in the bathroom, hitting his head. By the time the family found him, he was gone. Grief consumed the household, but the nightmare was only beginning. Strange whispers echoed through the house at night. The wind howled unnaturally. Then Henry's father suddenly fell ill, his body stiff and unmovable. A prophet was called, and after examining the family, he spoke gravely. "Someone has taken what does not belong to them. Until it is returned, this family will know no peace." Henry trembled, but denied everything. But the spirits knew the truth. That night, Henry awoke to a chilling sight. His dead brother Toba, standing at the foot of his bed. "Return the crown, brother," the ghostly figure whispered. Henry screamed and ran out of the house. But outside, more ghosts awaited him. The lost souls from the bus crash, their hollow eyes filled with sorrow. Then came the masquerades, towering and fierce, their whips cracking through the air. "Thief," they chanted, "return what you stole." Invisible to others, they flogged Henry mercilessly, driving him mad with pain and terror. He staggered to the prophet's house, begging for help. "You have 3 days," the prophet declared. "Return the crown, or the curse will consume you." Henry, broken and tormented, had no choice. He set out for the village, every step agonizing. The masquerades followed, their unseen whips tearing into his flesh. By the time he reached the palace gates, he was barely standing. He fell to his knees before the king, unwrapping the cursed crown with trembling hands. "Forgive me, your majesty," he sobbed. "I was blinded by greed." The king gazed at him, his expression grave. "You have brought great sorrow upon yourself and your family. The spirits do not forgive easily." As Henry prepared to leave, a messenger arrived, his voice heavy with grief. "Your father has passed." Henry collapsed, his soul crushed under the weight of his sins. With no home left to return to, he wandered aimlessly until he reached a river. Staring into its depths, he whispered, "I have nothing left." Then he stepped into the water. The river embraced him, pulling him under until he was gone. And so, the tale of Henry and the stolen crown became legend, a warning whispered through generations. The story of Henry and the cursed crown teaches several powerful moral lessons. Greed leads to destruction. Henry's insatiable greed blinded him to the warnings and consequences. His desire for wealth not only led to his downfall, but also caused the suffering of others. This highlights the dangers of prioritizing material gain over integrity and respect for traditions. Respect for culture and traditions. The villagers held their customs sacred, yet Henry disregarded them. His actions demonstrate the importance of respecting cultural beliefs, as they often carry deep wisdom and significance. Every action has consequences, from the theft of the crown to the tragic bus accident and his family's misfortunes. Henry's choices set off a chain reaction of suffering. The story reinforces the idea that reckless decisions can have severe, unintended consequences. Warnings should not be ignored. Multiple people, including Kimmy and the prophet, warned Henry about the dangers of his actions. His refusal to listen led to his doom. This teaches us to heed wise counsel, especially from those with experience or knowledge. Supernatural justice and karma. The story suggests that justice is inevitable, whether by natural or supernatural means. Henry tried to escape, but the spirits and fate eventually caught up with him, proving that wrongdoing will always be repaid. The value of contentment. Unlike Henry, the other core members were satisfied with their service and experiences in the village. This underscores the importance of appreciating what we have, instead of being consumed by selfish desires. Honor and redemption come at a cost. Even though Henry ultimately returned the crown, the damage had already been done. Some mistakes cannot be undone, and redemption does not always erase the consequences. Ultimately, the story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of greed, the importance of respecting traditions, and the inescapable nature of justice. Hope you enjoy the story. Please support me by like and subscribe, and turn on your notification for more exciting story. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.